All right, have and have not fans. Now this is more of a chill video. No theories or anything like that. Let's just open discussion. I'm just going to talk about a few things I've learned from watching the haves and the have-nots. And in the comments section below, let me know if you learned some of the same lessons or if you have anything to add on. To just keep it short and sweet, I'm going to maybe list about 5 things that I've learned from the show in no particular order. So again, just a laid back, relaxed video. If you want to listen to this, while you're washing dishes or cooking dinner or reading, you don't have to look at the screen. I have pictures here and there, but this is just a mellow, laid back video. Now, one of the lessons I've definitely learned from watching the show, and I've actually learned this as a kid watching that movie, Morris Chestnut, Anthony Anderson, Vivica A. Fox, Gabrielle Union. It was Two Can Play That Game. I need to look up that movie on DVD. I probably already got it without knowing it, but I haven't watched that one in a long time. And I think Anthony Anderson's character was talking to Morris Chestnut. It's like, the CIA ain't got shit on a woman with a plan. So this movie, that movie taught me one thing, but going to the haves and the have-nots, first lesson, never underestimate a woman with a plan. Now that goes for, the likes of Veronica and Candace, Catherine. So even though I don't agree with everything those specific characters do, Jennifer Salas and Maggie Day, just to name a few, this show really does teach men in general and women, when it comes to women, not to underestimate the opposite sex, or in this case, when it comes to women versus women, like, don't underestimate the competition. That's just crazy. There are just so many ways to look at this show when it comes to that particular lesson, especially like the early seasons on, when it kind of felt like a boys only club and then a men's only club, where you had David and Jim on one side, then you had Catherine and Veronica on another, then Maggie Day came into the mix. You got Candace being her own like single player, if you will. And yeah, it's really fun how the guys, when I look at the haves and the have-nots for every character in general, it's kind of like, they put out the bush that's on fire in front of them. It's like, thank God we got that problem taken care of. But then there's an entire forest on fire right behind them. That's how I look at this show. It's like, as soon as one problem is taken care of, and that goes back to the I'll handle it. You know what? It's like, don't worry, Catherine, I'll handle it. Meaning that I'm working on one problem right now. I don't need to deal with this problem you're bringing to me. So when I take care of the problem I'm already working on, I turn around and then that problem you told me about is like 20 times worse. So yeah, never underestimate a woman. Then another thing, well, I'm going to count this as 2 lessons, but they're the same but separate at the same time. Basically, never take anyone at face value, and also everyone has something to hide. Like, even the characters who appear in the series with what seems to be like the purest of intentions, they usually have a backstory that's very dark. Basically, there are skeletons in everybody's closet. Some people have like a Halloween skeleton, other people have a damn cemetery. But I'd say about 99.9% of the time, when a new character comes into this show, and it seems like they're pretty cool in terms of like, okay, they're like an average person, or okay, there's their profession. But then as you dig deeper and you learn who these people are based off their past and the current connections they have with characters who we know for a fact are dark on the show, it reveals some stuff like Charles, presidential candidate, his dark side, Chucky. Derek is the poster boy of this lesson right here, because we don't know who he is. We know about his 3 sons, all college age, I believe, playing sports. Wife died a year ago. He's been working as like, I'll just call him like the maintenance guy for like the likes of Hannah, Veronica, and probably a lot of the haves on their side of town. But the lion tattoo thing, that's the one thing people have their eyebrows. It's like, hey, he's pretty cool. Him and Hannah look good together. But then, everybody got that side eye like, yo, what if he has that lion tattoo and he was the one that raped Hannah? So, yeah, Oscar, another perfect example. Erica. Golly, I could sit here all day and talk about it. But yeah, just never take anybody at face value, and everybody has something to hide on this show. Like, even when it seems like they're a cool character, just wait until they get along with somebody, then you know who exactly they are. Next lesson, choose your allies carefully and beware of the company you keep. this show, again with the last lesson, you just have to be careful who you link yourself up to, because sometimes the people in your corner are probably working on 3 other corners without you knowing it. Like, that's not necessarily a prostitution pun, but given the fact that there are escorts and whores and prostitutes in this show, well, take that for what you will. But yeah, I guess this really comes down to these characters creating alliances with like spies and asset recovery agents and political campaign managers. And my gosh, there's just so many ways to look at that particular lesson, because sometimes the person in your corner is probably working for the person you want them to work against, you know, like a Benedict Arnold kind of thing, or a double agent, because you look at people like Oscar, who's worked for David, and now it's like, oh, he's employed by Jim. But also keep in mind, he's also on a case for an unknown benefactor that wants him to sabotage Charles's election. And yeah, it's just very interesting how that pretty much is topsy-turvy when you look at it. And just another golden rule, I mean, treat others the way you want to be treated. It just makes me laugh to see how Candace and Veronica, so without batting an eye, walk over people all the time. And it really does hurt to see like Candace treat her supposed allies the way she does, like, you know, beating up people for information and whatnot. And those are people, I wouldn't even call them friends, but people that she felt are useful. And this goes all the way back to like season 2, when Candace and Jeffrey were sitting on the couch, and Jeffrey Candace like, I fear nothing, and then Jeffrey says, that's awful, that's sad, because that means you also love nothing. It's like, I observe you, Candace. It's like, you have people in your life that you feel I guess you care about, however you want to put it, but as they are some use to you. Basically, they're in your life because you feel they have something to offer, whether it be a connection, money, power, a resource. But if you feel like they cross you in any way, it's like, oh, you'll make them pay. They're done for. And that pretty much will come across when we see how she treats Rocky with that pole. Then she hit Oscar, beat up Aaliyah, you know, strong-armed Landon for information. And then Veronica just runs over people who like work at like hospitals and hotels and whatnot, because she doesn't feel like they don't respect her and the way her name carries respect. So I would just love for those two to be put in their place by the very people they mistreated. Like, it's funny to see Landon kind of on top. I mean, true, Charles is like, you know, he knows how to keep Landon in line, but at the same time, it wasn't so long ago that Candace had Landon in the Sarandon Hotel room with some guy choking him. But now it's like, oh, okay, so how does it feel to be the mouse in the maze while I'm the one that's putting the cheese in there? I know it's a bad analogy, but yeah, just be careful how you treat people. That's all I'm saying. But also, you know, just an overall lesson for the show itself. Just pay attention to detail. Like, you know, I come up here, I do these videos. I started with a blog and tweets, but that's why you really have to pay attention. Like, for the most part, even if the show does drag on and a lot of the dialogue is regurgitated, like whatever one character says to one character in Tuesday's episode will be said the following Tuesday when another character is on the screen. But for the most part, you really need to pay attention to the dialogue, because not all the time, but most of the time, a lot of the dialogue isn't wasted, in that some dialogue is very important. Like, I will admit, there are some episodes where there might have been 2 to 8 lines of meaningful dialogue, whether it be background information about a character or somebody saying they're going to be somewhere at a specific time. Yeah, it really does get tedious, but hey, you know what? That's why I had this video channel for, which is fun, because I love when people's like, oh, I didn't catch that. And it's like, well, hey, it was like one of those subtle blink and you miss kind of things. But overall, those are just a handful of the lessons that this show has taught. So in the comments below, let me know, are there anything's, morals, values, whatever you want to call them, that you have taken away from the haves and the have-not? So let's have a fun discussion in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you later.